Go ahead. Good morning. Do you want us to stand, Darcy?
Yes.
Let's just stand and welcome the morning together.
All right. And in your program is some words to a song. And some of you probably already know this one. If you don't, it's really easy. I'll teach it to you. It's simple. It's a fun song. It basically says, I am already. I am a promise. Everything about me is. And it goes like this. I am a promise. I am a possibility. I am a promise. With a capital P. I am a great big bundle of potentiality. And I am learning to hear God's voice, and I am trying to make the right choices. I'm a promise to be anything God wants me to be. Sing that part with me. Go for I am a promise. I am a promise. I am a possibility. I am a promise with a capital P. I am a great big bundle of what? Potentiality. And I am learning what? To hear God's voice, and I am trying to make the right choices. I'm a promise to be anything God wants me to be. And then I say, well, I can go anywhere that God wants me to go. I can be anything that God wants me to be. I can climb the high mountains and cross the white sea. I'm a great big promise, you see. I am a promise. I am a possibility. I am a promise with a capital P. I am a great big bundle of potentiality. Oh, and I am learning to hear God's voice, and I am trying to make the right choice. I'm a promise to be anything God wants. You're a promise to be anything God wants. We're a promise to be anything God wants us to be. Yeah. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. So good to see you all this morning. If you're here for the first time, there's a packet on the table in that door back there. Some of us come in this door, I guess, which will require us to walk back to that door. But please pick one up if you're here for the first time today. And we have a very special day, and I would invite Tamara and Gary to come forward. And did we lose Reverend Moore? No, there you are. You were behind me. You were behind me.
First, need a microphone. I don't have headphones today. Is this one on? Yeah, I want to just emphasize how meaningful it is to each individual to step into membership at Woodland Chapel. You all down?
Sorry.
We're free-spirited here. We really are. That's part of the joy of being a member of Woodland Chapel, realizing the freedom of spirit we have to express ourselves, to truly be present wherever we are, and to really signify to ourselves and anyone who happens to be watching that we are committed to our spiritual growth, to loving people, to practicing love, to practicing the principles of science of mind. And today it is my privilege and honor to be able to present to Cheryl Moore and Gary Moore their certificates of membership. Please give them a
Yay. Yeah. We are so lucky that you're part of this community. So welcome. Congratulations. I know that when I finally made a decision to become a member, because I love the church, the philosophy, but I wasn't going to join a church. You know how that is, an organization. And then one day I realized this wasn't about that. It was about a commitment to my spirituality. And it was such a big deal. And I was so excited. So congratulations on the journey that you were on. So, okay. And then you can stay after for fellowship and everyone can say hi to you. Yeah. So, yeah, you might have been going somewhere, but, I just kiboshed that, didn't I? So, the fellowship afterwards, and you're invited to stay and share and just chat with everybody. Now, and the other thing is, we send out an weekly email that kind of tells you what's going on here and remind you of other things that are going on. And if you are not getting that, you probably have not given us your email. So you can give it to me or Cheryl or Dawn more. Just let us have your email and I'll make sure you get on that so you get a weekly email. And, this is really important. We're having a barbecue next Sunday. Yeah, we usually do soup for the soul. So we're going to cook out, and I guess everyone can bring a dish to share. I think that's how it's going to go. And then there'll be hamburgers, hot dogs, and hopefully maybe a vegetarian choice there. And so, yeah, come. It should be really fun. And I think the weather this week is going to be very cooperative. And I would like now to take the opportunity for all of us to sing happy birthday to Phyllis Kerr this morning. How long? Yeah, well, yesterday. So, Phyllis, happy birthday. And how long have you been part of the New Thought community? A long time? 100 years? Maybe a past life you were there too. So,
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Phyllis. Happy birthday to you. Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've never had dancing on the table, but can't say it couldn't happen. So, you have announcements on the back of your bulletin, very neatly done by Cheryl O. Thank you, Cheryl, for doing these. And take these home. It tells you what's going on. And do check your email, which usually comes out Friday, of what's going on here, rather than me just spending the rest of the afternoon reading this, because fortunately we have a lot of fun things happening. And I just want to remind you about one thing, is prayer requests. And if you aren't taking advantage of a prayer team, you're really missing a lot. It just works. It just works. And that's all I can say, is it really works. And it helps us get our consciousness in line with the wholeness. So there should be a prayer request form in front of you. And fill that out. There's a prayer box in the library that you can leave that at. So, all right. I think we are going to have an opening prayer.
I just want to give a round of applause for all the people that showed up on Thursday the 8th. So we found the peace pole. When you walk out the lower parking lot, you can see the peace pole. And we worked and sweated. So
Yeah, thank you all.
Anybody that was here, please stand up. I know Suze was here. I know, Shonda and Matthew and Moore was here and Art was here. Thank you guys, all the hard work.
Yeah, we have probably one of the more beautiful settings and sites of churches, and so to attend that is a lovely, lovely thing, and it's a spiritual process of preparing and making this beautiful for people to come enjoy the grounds. And yeah, thank you all for your effort. So Ruth.
Yes. Thank you. Now, if all of you would just relax. Drop your shoulders. Let your feet fall to the floor. Open your heart and go with me into the world of love. The world of love. As we gather together, I believe that whatever we move in our minds is accomplished. And I know that the world is merging, getting better, reorganizing. And so are we. And so in your journey of love, stay focused. Breathe deeply. And I'm so grateful that I'm able to be here as much as I am. And I am grateful that my passage to this place is always guided by the love of God. And I release these words, and I know that the law of love is active and working, and everything that we put forth is done. And so it is. And now, I remembered, unusual, we have an affirmation in the program. And if you would join me, let us read it together. Today, I release my inner dialogue. I allow myself to access the creative spark, my pure consciousness. And within these silent moments, I experience freedom, bliss, and pure potentiality. And so it is. Thank you. I'll put this back up.
Welcome, John. And companion.
Good morning. Good morning. It's wonderful to see you all here on a cooler morning. The first reading this morning is from a Muslim cleric named Salima Abdul Ghaffur, and he wrote, God speaks to us in the Quran, saying that he will not change our condition until we change what is in our hearts and souls. And the main reading today is from a Christian cleric named Dr. Tracy Brown, and she wrote, how would I behave if I cared about the health and safety of the unsheltered as much as I care about the safety of the people in my own home? Who do I expect to stop race-based hatred and violence if I care about the community I love? Where would I go to ensure all the children in my community have enough food to eat if I want to be an example of love? When would be the right time to take a stand for the end of war if I believe in the spiritual principle of harmony? The world I live in is complex. I alone cannot solve all the social issues, but the choices I make contribute to when and how all the social issues are resolved. Sometimes I just want to leave it to the politicians to figure it out. Sometimes I just want to leave it to the political activists to fight it out. Sometimes I just want to leave it to the people in the next community to fork out the money. Sometimes I just want to leave it to the next generation to force the old ways out. But I know that Spirit lives in me. Spirit lives in me. Spirit lives through me. I must change what is in my heart and soul if I want the world to change. I must be the example of love. I must be the example of unity. I must be the example of harmony. I must be the example of a world that works for everyone. And the bonus affirmation for this morning is as follows. I cleanse my heart of hatred and commit to be in harmony with all people.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, that's great. It's fantastic. When I saw the topic for today, the first thing that came to my mind was the concept, potentiality. The idea that something has to exist already for it to be possible. And we may not know about it. We may not recognize it. We may not see it. We may not want to acknowledge. And yet, it still exists. When I was a little kid, my mom said, you can say all day, I'm 6 feet tall. It's not true. But you can say it all you want. But what would be even better is to say, I am who I am. And who I am is all right. This song I learned when I was actually quite young. And I think about it a lot. Because you can't give what you don't have, right? What you don't know you have, what you don't see. And that potentiality is all there. This song says, you got to get up every morning with a smile on your face. Show the world all the love in your heart. Then people gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes you will, that you're beautiful as you feel. Oh, waiting at the station, I see workaday wind blowing. I've got nothing to do but watch the passers-by. Mirrored in their faces, I see frustration growing, and they don't see it showing. Why? Oh, you've got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. Oh, and people gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes you will, that you're beautiful as you feel. Oh, I have often asked myself the reason for the sadness in a world where tears are just a lullaby. If there's any answer, maybe love can end the madness, maybe not. But we can only try. You know this? Sing with me. You've got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. Oh, and people gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes you will, that you're beautiful. What? You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful
Thank you, Darcy and Mary. We're really blessed this morning to have Cheryl Guess as our speaker. She is fantastic. I know you've heard her before. And she's a practitioner here and on a ministry track. So,
Yeah. Am I on? Is this on? Oh, okay. I'm on.
so welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you. Good morning. How's everybody? Wonderful day. It's cooler today. Yeah, it would have been nice if it was this way on Thursday when we were out there playing with the garden. So the law of potentiality, that's what this is about. It's also known as the law of unity. It's the oneness law because everything literally has potential. If you have a ball, if I had a ball in my hand, it's just a ball. It doesn't have any potential. But if I drop it, it then has the potential to create energy. And that's exactly what this is all about. Potentiality is energy, and it is the essence of who we are. And one of the things is like Aristotle said, things could not exist without potentials. And yet, paradoxically, potentials can only be realized by actuals. So if you had a big slab of marble, and this is what evidently Michelangelo did when he did David. He had this big, giant slab of marble, because you don't realize it, but that statue of David is like 10 feet tall. It's really huge. I think it's even more than that. I could be off. But anyway, it's big. And when he saw that marble, he already saw the potential. He saw the statue. And because he was able to conceive of it and see it, he was able to, as he said, he was able to break it forth and bring it forth out of the marble into this beautiful statue of David. And so if you think about it that way, what about you? When somebody sees you, do they see your absolute beautiful potential? Do they understand that you are in your essence, you are spirit, you are energy? So do you think that you have met your full potential in life? Anybody? No. Oh, good. Cynthia has. Good. So at least one of us has. No. But it's our intrinsic nature, and it's internal. Internal. It is within us. Our potential is here. And what ends up happening a lot of times is we let our ego and our self-image convince us that that's not the case, that we're not as powerful as we think. So we start looking outside. We go to the external to prove that we're powerful. Guess how we do that? It's called object referral. We use things outside of us to define who we are. Isn't that great? We let others define who we are. We let our job define who we are. We let our relationships define who we are. But in reality, you're the only one that can define that. And I can guarantee you, when you're seeking approval from others, you're going to be seeking it all the time because it's kind of like a drug, you know? You get that approval and you feel so good, but then you want more. So you get more approval and you just keep going after finding approval without ever really finding it within yourself. That you don't need that. You already know who you are. Your spirit, the soul, whatever you call it, within you already knows how powerful you are. Already knows how powerful we are. This energy that we have to just influence our lives, to create the life and the existence that we want, that we desire. It's already within us because we have potential. We all have potential. And the world is full of possibilities. So what do you do? So what the other thing about a person that is looking or seeking for the approval, they need to control everything, because if they don't control it, then it's not going to fall into place and it's not going to be perfect, and then they won't get the accolades. So I have to control everything. I have to control my kids, I have to control my husband, I have to control everything, just to make sure that they all fall in line and I get the approval that I need. So, but it's external power. It's outside of you, which, believe it or not, I've said this before, the only control that you have in life ends at the tips of your fingers. That's it. You only have control over this right here. You don't have any control over what somebody else does or says or how they behave or if they hurt your feelings, if they are mean to you, whatever. You have no control over that. But all of those things, the seeking approval, trying to control everything, and just needing that power from outside of yourself, guess what it's all driven by? Anybody? Close. Fear. Fear. Fear that I'm not enough. Fear that I won't be enough. And fear that people will realize that I'm not enough. Oh gosh, what do I do now? You know? So, on the other hand, when you use what potentiality and what this lesson is about, you become an actualized human being, according to Lao Tzu, when you use self-reference, self-referral. I know I did a good job, so I did my best, so I don't really have to listen to all the noise outside of me. I know I did my best. So you become immune to criticism because you start to realize that's somebody else's opinion. That's outside of my power. But the power within me, I know who I am. So whatever you're saying, you don't know who I am, but I do. Because of that internal power that I start recognizing the glorious being that I am. Doesn't that sound great? I am glorious. Y'all say that. I am glorious. Isn't that wonderful to think about? I mean, how many times do we spend in that little dialogue in our head telling ourselves, oh, you're not good enough, you didn't do this right, you did that wrong. You let that little voice in there start being your judge. But the truth of the matter is, whenever you are in that internal reference of your power, then you welcome challenges. You welcome people to come up to you and say, hey, have you ever skydived? You ready to go? And I'm like, the only way you get me out of a plane is you throw my cold, dead body out the door, you know, because there's no way. But do I have the potential or the possibility to do it? Yes, I do. But am I going to? No, I'm not. It's just, but that's discernment. That's also discernment because we can take challenges, we can take risk, but we don't have to put our life and limb in the crossfire, you know, in order to prove something or to do something like that. But it's just that we start welcoming new things that come into our lives. When we are powerful within ourselves, we're not afraid of challenges. We're like, okay, bring it on, let's do it. The other thing is when you have that internal power, you find yourself respecting everyone. No matter what their story is, no matter what they're thinking, no matter what they're saying, you respect them because you recognize that we're all just one energy. We're just one spirit. We're just one. So however they're acting or whatever they're saying or however they're believing, you have to stop and say, bless you. Just bless you. And recognize that I am connected to you. I am part of you. And whatever happens to you happens to me. And whatever happens to me happens to you. Can you see that concept? Can you see how we're all just one being, one essence, one external universe that is creative, but we are the instigators of the creation. We create our own lives. And so, the other thing that you find is when you start seeing everybody as just one, you don't feel like anyone is beneath you, that you are absolutely their equal. If you're walking down the street and there's a homeless person sitting on the sidewalk, guess what? They're not beneath me. They're just in a different circumstance. So and that's the other thing about that wonderful internal power, is you just feel humble. And you realize that you're not superior to anyone, but no one is superior to you. Because we're all just one big energy. And so, what you start recognizing is that we're just all one. We all just have on different disguises. You know, we've all been, created differently, and we're just presenting ourselves to the world differently. Now, when you're doing it from internal, you're not wearing a mask. You're not just sitting there, putting on a show like, oh yeah, everything's perfect, everything's great, and then you go home and you're like, oh God, my life just is awful. So what you're doing when you become that actualized person, then you realize that you just have no judgment about yourself, and you have no judgment about anyone else. You just see them, you recognize them, you know whatever they're walking through, whatever experience or situation is going on in their lives, this is just something that they are walking through. Now, if they internalize it, if they make it their own and they're going to own it, then they will. But there's nothing in this life that has any type of guilt or shame that you need to carry around with you. There's no reason for it. If you did your best, even if you didn't do your best, even if you were a real stinker in some kind of way, you still are this perfect manifestation of spirit. And we all mess up. We all just make mistakes. I love last month's theme, perfectly imperfect. Isn't that wonderful? That we know that we have our flaws, but we love ourselves for them anyway. We know that we have things that we need to take control of or take charge of within our own selves, within our own lives, but we don't feel the need to put that out on anyone else. So isn't that wonderful? That's one thing I love about this teaching. We don't believe in guilt or shame, and we don't believe in being insecure about who we are. How can we be? We are manifested from God. My gosh, that is a huge responsibility. How are you going to use this potential that you have within you? What about the possibilities that keep cropping up in your life, and you see them crop up and you think, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I couldn't do that. I don't have those skills, or I'm not good at that, so I'm not even going to try. Unless I am perfect at doing it, the very first time I try it, I'm done. Because it's just so much easier just to sit back and say, oh, well, I'm just not good enough. I'm just not worthy of that. But the truth is, you're worthy of everything. You're worthy of all the love, the acceptance, of all the financial security, of all the relationships, perfect and beautiful relationships that you form, and your creativity. You have so much creativity. I mean, look what God did with his. I mean, come on. This planet, the trees, the flowers, the plants, everything, all of the different creatures on this planet, they're all manifested from this one creativity. And you have that ability to do that, use that creativity within your own life. So when you're driven by fear, though, you create so much turbulence in your mind. Your poor little mind is just like, oh, I'm so fearful. This is going to go wrong. That's going to go, what if this happens? All this stuff. When you get into that turbulence, you cannot find the stillness that is innately, is intrinsic to who you are. Because the spirit within you is never flustered. It's never stressed out. It's not having an anxiety attack. All of that is manifested from the things that have been external in your life. And they've created these things where it's just become, it seems in our turbulent minds, just too much. And it is at that point. It is too much. But you also live in a lot of guilt and a lot of shame. So I just ask you, you know what? Forgive yourselves right now. Just forgive yourselves for all of that stuff that you've been carrying around with you and giving a safe place to reside where you can pick at it and pull it up anytime you're feeling bad about yourself. Oh, yeah, well, remember that time I did that? Oh, yeah, I remember that. So if you just think about it, the thing about self-power, that internal power, that is true power. You can walk through life with ease, with grace and ease, because you know who you are, you're secure in yourself, and you know that you're in alignment with your spirit when you are that actualized human being. And this is the good part about this, it's permanent. When you reach that point, it's not like you can flip it on and off. Oh, I'm feeling real secure today. Oh, tomorrow I'm not because I have a bad hair day or I'm doing this or whatever. But it's permanent. When you can find that place and that grace and that ease and that serenity within yourself, it doesn't just float away. Now, you can pile other stuff on top of it if you want to. You can pile new experiences and new situations. You can pile it on top and kind of dampen it down sometimes. But then you just have to go back to that knowledge of who you are. You're powerful. You're magnificent. You are an aspect of the Creator, given volition, free will, in other words, and you just have this ability to go back to that truth. Now, when you're in that fear-based, looking for external power, it is temporary. It only lasts as long as the object of reference is there. So, an example, you are extremely wealthy and you don't manage your money well, but with that wealth, you have power. You have power, you think. Or you're the president of a corporation. You're somebody that's in a real high position of power, and you are so powerful until you leave the job or until you lose the money. You feel so powerful, but the reality is all of that power that you felt like you had suddenly disappears. So it's no longer a part of who you are. You're no longer feeling that powerfulness. That's why it's so important just to make sure your power comes from within and it's not something that you try and grasp and grab onto outside of yourself. Now, external power, it can be a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, But the reality is that when you have that true power, you also have peace and you have serenity and you walk with calmness. You just stay in that relaxed, calm state. So, let's try something here. The way that you get back into that space, the way that you can find that space so you can grow that feeling is through stillness. How many of you are really good at being very still? Not me. I'm always in action. I sat last night for 2.5 hours, and when I stood up, I was walking like this, because it was like, I haven't sat this long in a long time, in one place. And so, let's just try this little thing. All right, first of all, everybody take a deep breath and hold it for a minute and release. Now, stay in that moment. Don't breathe in. Just stay in that moment. Now, breathe in and release. Eddie Hillesum, Eddie, that's her name, said, sometimes the most important thing in a whole day is the rest we take between 2 deep breaths. So let's try it again. Ready? Think of that rest. Feel that stillness. Ready? In and release and just hold it. Now breathe in and release. Did you feel it? That stillness for just a moment where you were right there in the moment, involved with your breath, holding it so that there were no other random thoughts running through your head? When you can reach that point of stillness, and the way that you can reach it is through meditation. I know, it's hard for some people to meditate. It was for me at first. I was always distracted by everything. Somebody sneezed. Okay, all right, I'm back. Somebody coughed. Oh, gosh, I'm really back. But it's a way of making that stillness occur within you is when you can just relax into yourself and relax into that breath even. That's a great meditation, is just the breathing, just concentrating on your breathing. But when you can get into that place where you can find the stillness, one of the things that you can do when you're there is if there's one intention or something that you kind of would like to see or desire to see, absolutely desire to see within your life, Just plant that little seed. I want financial health. I want perfect health in my body. I want perfect health in my relationship. So when you can find that stillness and just plant that seed, it will manifest. Because when you get rid of the turbulence and you get out of your own way, everything just kind of opens up. It's really, really crazy, but it does work. And we think it's crazy because we've been taught differently, that we have to strive and we have to push and we have to be powerful or else nobody's going to like us or nobody's going to respect us. But when you come to that place of finding that inner peace and recognizing that things that are going on around you are just flowing through your life. You're not sitting there, you're not immersed in it for years or something like that. You just deal and do it the best you can, and you move forward. But if you have that stillness in you, where you can go to that place of stillness, sometimes I have actually, when I was working and dealing with people, the public, I've actually come up into a situation, I was a manager, where both people were ready to choke each other to the ground. And the first thing I said to them, okay, let's just stop and just take a breath here. Let's just stop for a moment and take a breath. And it is amazing how just that one sentence where you just take them away from whatever the conflict is, that one thing can just, okay, I'm breathing again. I am not so immersed into this situation, into this conflict, that I can't step back and just take a breath and just open up my heart. It does. It just seems to open you up whenever you take that breath. So, the thing about self-power is that all of your relationships are a reflection of the relationship that you have with yourself. Isn't that whatever you're putting out, whatever you're believing about yourself, that's what you're attracting. So if you're having really rocky relationships, I wouldn't look at it being the other person's fault, especially if it's happened 2 or 3 times. I would say the common denominator might be you. So maybe you just need to stop and say, okay, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Why am I attracting this type of situation or this experience into my life? Well, it's because that's what I'm experiencing in here. So but whenever you're in that perfect power, that power within you, it magnetizes people. People are just drawn to you. Circumstances are drawn to you. When you're in that calmness and that stillness, it's just amazing how the world opens up in a whole different way. And you start recognizing that the essence of material wealth in life is energy. It's pure potentiality. So if you're working at a job where, okay, I can do this job in my sleep. I've done it for so long, I just have to show up, do what I do, and go home. I don't ever have to think about doing something different. I don't have to think about advancing myself. I'm perfectly happy just exactly where I am. Well, if you are, good. Stay with the job. If it's not challenging you, if you just feel like you just, you dread going to work in the morning, and then you have the weekend, and you spend all Saturday feeling good, and then you feel all Sunday you're just dreading going back to work, I would suggest maybe you need a different line of work. Something that keeps you enthused and challenged and open and ready to get up every morning and just go and do whatever it is you're doing because you're excited about it, because you know you're adding to the benefits of whatever this job is. You know you're adding to this company. You know that you're essential, that you're a part of this. And you get excited about it. I want to feel excited every morning when I wake up. Doesn't everybody? Don't want to wake up and go, oh, God, oh, me, oh, my. Was that Eeyore? Oh, me, oh, my. Yeah. So how can you get to that place? One of the things that's best for me is to get to that place of self-actualization. It's just being in nature. I can, anytime I'm stressed about anything, I can just walk outside and for some reason, that energy of all of nature, I can just feel it just resonating within me. And so I can just walk outside and go into that calm stillness. I can hear the birds. Sometimes I can hear the stream that's near my house. Sometimes I can, just all these different things that, and I always think, this is so arrogant. I always think, look what God gave me today. He got that bird sing for me and the river's going by and, oh my God, thank you, God, thank you. But it is, because I'm experiencing it. So it is for me. Everything out there is for you. Everything out there is for me. And so when I see that, and I'm just so excited to think, oh, a butterfly just went by. I call them flutterbys because my daughter used to, but so they were cute. But I just think about everything that occurred in this second, in this moment, when I meet your eyes, when I meet yours. Whenever something like this is going on, it's all for me. No, it's not. It's all for you as well. Everything that's occurring in your life, the people that come into your life, the people that leave your life, it's all for a purpose. It's all for a reason. And it's just like, I feel like every one of them, whether they're coming or they're going, is a gift from God. Sometimes it's good when people leave your life. I just say, bless them on their path, and I bless, and their best and furthest good. Sometimes that's the best. But sometimes it's also, when these new people come into your life, you find your soul excited because there's that connection. You recognize another spiritual being. You recognize them. And have you ever met somebody? I met my friend Mimi. This is absolute true story. Mimi, I was working at the church in Palm Desert, and I went to open the door into the sanctuary, and she was coming out. I'd never laid eyes on her before, but something in my heart said, this is somebody that's going to be incredibly important in my life. And she became my best friend. And it's just like, and I knew it from the moment my energy interacted with hers. Have you ever met someone like that? Have you run across people when as soon as you meet them, you recognize them? Maybe not their face, but you recognize that spirit, that essence within them. And you feel that energy around them. That is such a cool thing, because I feel like there's people on this planet that we're supposed to meet, that we're supposed to run into. Maybe not today or tomorrow, maybe who knows when. Or maybe we've already met them, but still, all of these things I just feel like the whole universe just comes together to create this perfect world for me. But I know that you have the ability to do the same thing. You have the same ability. So next time you go outside and you hear a bird sing, you think, thank you, God. That was beautiful. You see a tree, the wind blows a little bit, and you say, thank you, God, because I got to see this tree move in this moment, and nobody else saw it except me. And why else would it be happening? It must be for me. I know, I sound very egotistical and arrogant, but actually, shouldn't we be? Aren't we creatures? Aren't we creatures of God? Aren't we supposed to be experiencing great and wonderful things? And aren't we supposed to recognize them? Don't we recognize? Do we just take it for granted? Sometimes when I'm driving down the road and I see a horrible accident and I stop and I think, oh my gosh, I got delayed for 10 minutes for some reason. Otherwise, it could have been me. And what was that convergence? Where did all this come apart or combine together to create, I wasn't in an accident. But could I have been? Yeah, because we have so many different paths and so many different things that can happen in our lives. And when I see an accident on the road, I bless them and I pray for their best and highest good, and that all of the medical team and everybody is divinely guided in their treatment, and I go on. But I also recognize that something divine within me recognized that little delay just made a big difference in my life. Can you really rejoice in knowing that? Not only for the things that come into your life, but do you ever thank God for the things that you haven't experienced? I thank God that I never had to experience the loss of one of my children. That, to me, would have been, But it's just so many things that we have to be grateful for, not just for what we have, but we should be, but for what we don't have. Do you ever think about that? About how you could just, so many things in your life can change so quickly. All right, the other thing to think about, and this was the tough one because, we're all kind of a little judgy, not really bad, but practicing non-judgment. Not looking at somebody and thinking, did you get dressed in the dark? Or just things like that. Start to say, well, they're just expressing. They're expressing themselves today. Which, can you do that, though? Can you just, mine is, can you not get mad at somebody for pulling out right in front of you? Yeah. And not just go into that judgment. Oh, yeah. I could tell you all kinds of things about that. Y'all already know about my road rage, so. But the main thing is to remember that external power is temporary, and it's addictive because you always need more. You always have to have more, always. And it creates that turbulent dialogue within your head that everything is wrong, everything's bad. And you disconnect yourself. When you're living in fear, you disconnect yourself from that creative power that's within you. You block it. You set limits on yourself. You think, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I can't do that. But you can. And we were just saying that, Dawn, when we had our prayer thing this morning. If you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. Sounds trite, been said 1,000 times, I'm sure. But it can become your mantra. You can actually say, I can do this. If I thought of it, I could do it. Why else would I have the idea? Why else was this one mind just funneling down within me? Have we've heard of people in the past that had this great idea and did nothing about it. And 1,000, 2,000 miles away, somebody else had the same idea and just ran with it. And guess what? You sit there and go, I had that idea. Why didn't I do something? Well, you didn't act. So what do you think? Okay, and then the other thing about when you're living in the fear-based, you can't meditate. You're too busy chasing the external. You cannot find that stillness. And unfortunately, you can dig yourself in so deep that you cannot even conceive of the idea that you could be a powerful creature, a powerful being. You can't even believe it. You can just dig that hole. Get down, play in the mud. Oh, life is terrible. Everything's awful. But that's coming from fear. People usually think that the opposite of love is hate. No, the opposite of love is fear. Because when you're coming from a place of fear, you're not loving anyone. You're not even loving yourself. And that's the sad thing about being in that fear-based, that external power. You don't love yourself because you're always seeking approval from other people. You're always seeking it outside of yourself. It's almost as though you can't sit still with yourself and just be alone with yourself. And I know people like that. They cannot stand to be alone. They always have to be around other people. And that is so much fear generated there. So, and the other thing is when you're always trying to get that power, it's almost next to impossible to make a bond with someone. It's hard to bond with someone because, first of all, usually you're in competition. And you're trying to get all that control and all that power, so you're going to have to push everybody else out of the way in order to achieve that. And we've seen that. Look at these very, like a wealthy CEO or somebody like that, where you start hearing things about how they start treating people like they're not important or they're not necessary or they're fodder, that they're not really important, only they are important. And it's really hard to form a bond with somebody when you think you're better than them and that that you think that they're beneath you because look at you, you've got all this power. But the problem is what I said before, there's not enough power and wealth out there to ever satisfy you. So you just spend your life like on a track, a racetrack almost, just running and chasing after this external power. But it's always been within you. It's always within you. So an affirmation, you might say, the combination of stillness and movement allows me to unleash my creativity in all directions. So you've heard this one, treat and move your feet. Yeah, it's like we used to joke, I want a relationship. God, I really want a relationship. I just want somebody to come into my life where I have a really straight, great relationship. And God says back, well, get off the couch and do something. If you're not putting yourself out there, if you're not willing and approaching everything in life with an open and receptive mind and a loving heart, then how can you expect things to unfold for you? How can you expect that you're unleashing your creativity whenever you're just sitting there stuck in this space? Anyway, thank you today, and I appreciate y'all, and thanks for listening, and I'm sorry I went too long. Namaste. I'm so embarrassed. I looked up at the clock, and it was over.
Wow, that's oh man, thanks, Cheryl. I've spent the last couple of years in a kind of weird state of flux, wondering about who I am. And somebody asked me one time, how you doing? And I said, well, I'm kind of lost. And they kind of looked at me and they went, you? And I went, yeah. And then I realized that I just had to go back to the fundamental me, right? To that potentiality, that potential, that who I am and who God is. And I had realized that all I had to do was be who I was created. And this song talks about that. It says, to fulfill the need to be who I am in this world is all I ask. I can't pretend to be something that I'm not. And I won't wear a mask. Oh no. Oh, you touch my face with love in your eyes. But will you touch my heart? Oh, with the understanding that it takes to realize that I can't play a part. Oh no, there's this need to be true to myself and make my own mistake. Oh, I don't want to lean too hard on someone else, no matter what it takes. Oh, no matter. So if you're sure it's love, just be sure it's love for me. Oh, 'cause I am what I am, and I have this need to be. I'm not fool enough to think that I could ever be the master of my fate. Oh, but I know that it's up to me to choose my role in life, no matter what it takes. There's this need to be something more. in this world than just a reflection of someone. I can't survive in someone's shadow. I need my own little spot to stand. So if you're sure it's love, oh, just show me love for me. Show love for me. 'Cause I am what I am. And I have this need to be.
Thank you, Cheryl, Darcy, and Mary. So now it's the time in our service for our offertory, and may I have some ushers come forward? That's awfully nice. There was already some money in there. So let's say our offertory affirmation together. And when we say these words, I know we say them every week, so we kind of take them for granted, but I like to listen to the words I say. Divine love moving in and through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up all your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, you and I. It's in every one of us to be free, to be free. Find yourself, open your eyes and see. We can all have everything without ever knowing how. It's in every one of us, here and now.
Oh, yes. Do we really believe that? Yes. When you do, when times like this come upon us and we're asked to share what we believe, this is what we do. Right here, right now. What you have done today has given us a blessing. Comes from your heart, your part of life that you wish to share with us so that we can continue this part of life in this house of faith, this place we call our spiritual home, and know that we are blessed, we are cared for, and we are loved. And so I give thanks for each and every one of you. And so it is. Amen.
So before we say our prayer of protection, and we can stand for that and peace song, I just want to remind you that we are working from a little book by Deepak Chopra called 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And some of you probably have it and read it, and I like it because it's very small, but very powerful with a great impact. So the next 2 weeks we'll be finishing. Oh, we won't be finishing. We're actually going to do that on into September. But Reverend Don will be speaking next week on part of the book of Powers of 7 Laws of Success, and then I will round that up this month with Yeah, a continuation of that. And so we just invite you to, all right, you guys. Just invite you if you want to pick up the book and follow along with us. It's a really cool book. Oh my God. So, so let us stand and say together the prayer of protection. Oh, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God washes over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.